You are invited to join our brand new Facebook group, Sex and Intimacy Support for Catholic Women. This is a Facebook group that is only about sex and intimacy questions, and it is a women's only Facebook group. I'm going to be in there from time to time answering questions, providing support, but this is just a place for you to get support, ask questions, and maybe even vent a little bit if you need it. I've heard from so many of you guys with questions and comments, and sometimes I just can't keep up with all of it. And so I want us to be able to join together and provide that support together in a Facebook group. So go check out the link in the show notes for the Sex and Intimacy Support for Catholic Women Facebook group. And I hope to see you in there. What if I told you that there's something you could do right now within the next 5 to 10 minutes that would absolutely transform your relationship with your husband and your ability to really open up, enjoy, and receive pleasure in sex? Sound a little too good to be true? Let me tell you, it's not an easy thing, but it is a possible thing. Let's get into it. Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the sex and intimacy podcast for Catholic women. My name is Ellen Holloway, and I am a Catholic speaker and coach who specializes in sex and marital intimacy. And I am on a mission to help you actually enjoy and desire good, holy sex with your husband. So today, we are going to be talking about forgiveness. And before you turn this podcast episode off going, I know, Ellen, I want you to hear me out. This is a short episode. Let's jump in. Let me start by telling you a little bit of a story. This is probably the first time in my life that I was ever taught real forgiveness and what the whole point of forgiveness is. When I was in high school, I was dating my now husband. Yep, we were high school sweethearts. And he did something that I didn't like. And then I did something even worse back to him. And when he found out what I did back to him, and honestly, it's so long ago, I don't even really remember what it was. When he found out what I did back to him, he was really upset and really mad at me. And a few hours later, he told me, hey, you know what? I forgive you. And I was shocked because I hadn't even asked for forgiveness. I hadn't even really apologized for what I had done. And he's just like, hey, I forgive you. And I'm like, why? And he told me, I didn't like being mad at you. I didn't want to be mad at you anymore. It was at that point in my life at like 15 years old that for the first time I realized that forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is about you or me, right? If I'm forgiving someone, it's about me. Forgiving someone is not condoning the action that was done. Forgiving someone is not just like letting it go. Forgiving someone is actually admitting, hey, you did something wrong. You wronged me in this way. But I am choosing to forgive you because I don't want to harbor this anger and resentment and frustration against you. I actually want to free myself of harboring that. And I am not going to enact justice on this situation. Forgiveness is actually recognizing our place as humans in that God is the just judge. We actually really have no place to enact justice. We don't even really know how to enact proper justice for wrongdoings. And again, forgiveness is not condoning the action, but it's about you. It's about getting rid of the resentment, the anger, the frustration, whatever that emotion is that you're holding on to. It's about ridding yourself of that emotion. And what happens when you rid yourself of that emotion? Now, not only do you feel a little better, but now you have an ability to open. See, when you're harboring anger, resentment, frustration, these are emotions that close us off. I mean, just pause for a second and think about the last time that you felt angry or frustrated. What did your body do? Your body clenched up. Maybe you clenched your fists. Maybe you clenched your teeth, right? If you might have made one of those noises like, "Arr!" right? If you make that noise, when I did that just now, I clenched my fists and I clenched my teeth in order to make that frustrated noise. It's a emotion that closes us off. And when we're trying to engage in sex as women, we have to, like biologically, we have to be able to open up. So if there is something that you're harboring frustration, resentment, anger toward your husband about, I'm challenging you right now that it's time to forgive him. And again, forgiveness is not condoning the activity. It doesn't mean that you can't talk to him about it. It doesn't mean that you can't hold him to a higher standard. Forgiveness is about you. It is about allowing yourself to rid yourself of these emotions that are like causing your body to tense and close. You're putting up a wall and you're holding on to that wall.
We'll be back with the episode in just a minute. Let me ask you a quick question. Does sex just kind of suck? Or maybe you and your husband are just always arguing about sex? Maybe you feel like your libido has disappeared, or it takes you too long to get aroused, or you just really don't like sex that much and you're ready for that to not be an issue in your life anymore. If that sounds like you, then you need the Catholic Sex Course for Women. In this course, we dive into the 5 pillars of married sex, and I help you actually finally have the sex life that you have dreamed of. Sex is so good. It is so holy, and you deserve to actually enjoy and find pleasure in your sex life. Check out the Catholic Sex Course for Women at vinesinfullbloom.com/Catholic sex, or click the link in the show notes.
And I'm going to be honest, this is actually a little scary, letting that wall go. And I think this is why so many of us struggle with sexual pleasure. And also many of us struggle with sexual pain because we're not allowing our body to actually open up and relax and actually receive our husband, because that wall feels really, really safe. That wall is protecting us. Like, that's why we have anger and frustration and resentment. We're trying to protect ourselves. But if we're going to be entering into the most unitive act possible, we have to be able to be vulnerable. And in order to be vulnerable, we can't have that wall. And in order to get rid of that wall, we need to forgive. Because that anger, that resentment, that unforgiveness is going to make it almost impossible for us to open up in sex. It's going to make it almost impossible for us to give the gift of ourself. I'm going to say it is impossible to really give a full gift of self if we're harboring frustration, anger, resentment. And it's going to make it almost impossible for us to receive pleasure as well. So again, this isn't about the other person. It's not about your husband. This is about you and what unforgiveness is doing to you and your body. So it's time to take a step back, think about what it is that you're harboring resentment for, and enact that forgiveness. And do it in Jesus' name, because we're not going to be able to do this without God. So here's your sentence. In Jesus' name, I forgive blank, your husband's name, for blank. Just say it out loud. Say it out loud right now. Ask God to give you the grace to be able to forgive. And I promise, when we really do this, when we really forgive, amazing things happen in our lives. Thanks so much for listening. If you are not already following us on Instagram, be sure to check us out at Charting Toward Intimacy. And if you listen to podcasts on a platform that gives you the option to rate or review, we'd love for you to do that because it helps us spread the word about the podcast. If you ever have questions, comments, or episode topic ideas, please reach out to us. We love to hear from you. You can reach out on Instagram or send us an email. Our email is in the show notes. Until next time.